Okay, so I'm going to show you today the first few SQL statements, select from and where, which are the basis of any query. Um, so I'm going to assume that you're logged in already. Now we're going to open a new query. And so it's a blank page here. And we need to pick the right database. So if you don't know what the databases are, you can always just look. So you open up the database, not node, and we see these are our databases that we have. We have Ascend, Pets, SQL course, and this is another one at Worldwide Importers. So I'm going to go to Pets because this is a really simple one. We keep it simple. We click here, and we see that the tables is also already open. So the tables are here. So in the Pets database, we have these tables, right? So that's what we work with. So we go here, click on the new query, and we select the database. So when we select this database, we're going to be querying the Pets database over here. We're querying the Pets database. So the select statement, so select all. Then let me just define select for you. A select is an SQL statement that tells you what the column is. You are referencing. Okay, so that's the select statement. What the select statement is, it's a SQL statement that tells you what the column you are querying. Tells you what the column you are querying is. Okay, and from there we're going to move to the from statement. And from is a lot simpler. From is an SQL statement that picks the table you are querying. Right? So here we would do select, and we opened the Pets database. We opened tables, and these are our tables here: cat, dog, and owner. So we're selecting asterisk, which means all, means every column. So we can pick a specific column, but we need to have a table first. So select from cat, and we can run that. So it's going to give us every column in the cat's table. So in the cat's table, the columns are, I'm going to open this up so you can see. We opened up the cat's table, open up the columns folder, cat ID, cat name, cat owner. So let's go back to the select statement. Say we don't want every column. We just want the cat ID. And you see it auto-populates as you start to write the column, and you can just arrow down and then hit tab, and then it just populates it. So select cat ID from cat. See, so now we just get the cat ID. Say we want the cat ID in the front, comma, everything else. So cat ID, because it's just first, it's ordered as the first thing. So say we don't want cat ID, we want cat owner ID first. Tab. Right, so cat owner ID would be here first. Say we just want cat owner ID. This is cat owner ID. So the select statement tells the Microsoft SQL server what database, what column you want to work with. And you could literally, I think you can do cat name and then cat owner ID, but you might as well do all. But if it was a table with a lot of columns, then you want to narrow it down, because these columns, there can be 20 columns in one table, and then this populates all the way down, and you have to like scroll to the right like that, but here. And so being able to narrow that down matters a lot. So now we've done select, we've done from. And let me just show you something else with from. We can do multiple froms, right? We just did cat, we do from dog. And then we do comma, all. I'm just going to delete the other columns for now. So from cat, from dog. And what happens here, all the cat columns are here, cat ID, cat owner name. Now let's open up the dog table. Open up the columns. And so now you see dog ID, dog name, dog owner ID. So you can select multiple froms, right? Multiple froms. And we could even do the other table we have in this database, cat, dog, and then owner, I believe, is the other. Where is that? The owner table here. Open that up. Owner. And sometimes it highlights it in blue, but it doesn't make it a keyword. It's just that happens. It's one of those funky things that SQL Server does. But we have cat, cat name, cat ID, dog name, dog ID, dog name, dog owner ID, owner name. So we have all the tables selected because we've selected all. So say I just want cat ID. Let's see what happens. I just want to do cat ID. Only cat ID comes up because I've narrowed down the select statement, the column, to just cat ID. So I want cat ID, dog ID, tab, and then I want owner ID, tab. Let's see what happens. See, even though everything was selected, multiple tables were selected in the from statement, we can select just cat ID, we can just select dog ID. No, we don't, even though the from table includes it, we're narrowing it down to the specific specific column. So if you want to narrow it down even more, now we get into the where statement, where let's see, where owner ID equals 1. Right, so now all the owner IDs equal 1. So you might be saying, why are the dog IDs there? Because we still have the dog ID selected. So let's delete this. Just hit Control X. And you see that the dog ID has other owner IDs as well. Right? And this is just dummy data. But see 15.2, 15.1, and then there's 15.3, right? So Control V. Only the owner ID and the dog ID that have that in common are being populated, right? So to explain that, keep that there. I'm going to delete the cat table because we're not really using it. And we're just going to do select dog ID from the dog table. And we have to end the query up top. And that's technically how you're supposed to finish every single statement with a semicolon. And that indicates that you've ended it. Now let's do select owner ID from the owner table. And see now multiple rows are coming out. So let's do select everything from the dog table. Let's just see everything in this dog table right here. So there are other fields like dog ID 19, dog owner ID 20 that aren't, it's not in this top one because we've isolated it with the where statement, where owner ID equals 1. But we can see here that Dickie, dog ID number 19, that has owner ID 20 is not listed in the above query in this query because the where statement tells you what row specifically, right? So that's what the where statement is. The where statement is an SQL statement that narrows down to the row. So with select, from, and where, you can narrow things down specifically to one column, one table, one row, or multiple columns, multiple tables, and multiple rows. And you could add on different things onto here, which we'll be looking at later. But this is just enough to sort of explain what they are. So select tells you the column, from tells you the table, where tells you the row. Just remember that. Select, column, from, table, where, row. And it can be in multiples. It can be single.